In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Going old school. Francis Albert Sinatra.
Night and day, you are the one.
The greatest singer of the 20th century.
You neath the moon.
You'd agree with that, right? My dad's happy right now. That I do know. Who are these bands you play? All right. To be or far. All right, I'm not going to sing it. I'm not going to try to imitate the chairman of the board. Hoboken born, by the way, Jefferson Street, I believe, which I lived on at one point, and then got the hell out of there as quickly as he possibly could. Nearly died when he was born. Go read about that sometime. But we may not have had Frank Sinatra, but thankfully, a quick-thinking mom. I think, I'll have to look this up. Kevin, maybe help me out with this, and then fill in the blank. I'll bring it back in. Something with wasn't breathing and poured some hot water on him, and that kind of woke him up. I don't know. I gotta look it up, but yeah. Anyway, the greatest performer of the 20th century that we do know. We'll be playing Sinatra throughout the evening here on Concha at Night this Wednesday night, April 8th, my sister's birthday. I have to call her, which it's getting late, so I probably should do that. Anyway, oh, the cuts we have tonight are really extraordinary because it shows a contrast between common sense and crazy. Common sense, I think, forget conservative, forget MAGA, forget Republican. Just there are normal people out there that want to run the country, and then there are insane people who want to run the country, or at least a city in this case, with Zohran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York. He has a plan now to tax successful white folks to subsidize poor black folks. And you say, well, Joe, I mean, some people need help. They need, a safety net. All right. But if I'm Asian, where am I in this equation exactly? Do I not get, some free stuff? Do I get some of the taxpayer dollars that are going to go up for white people, right? Or Indian Americans for that matter? Like, how do you pick and choose what race deserves more money and which races deserve to have more of their money taken? Again, I think that's common sense. There's nothing racist about it. But here we are. This is cut number 3, Kev. Cut number 3, go.
While today's true cost of living measure confirms that the affordability crisis touches every corner of our city, we know that these effects are not applied evenly. So often, it is black and brown New Yorkers who are hit the hardest. This preliminary racial equity plan is the first step in developing a whole-of-government approach to tackling that reality. It is a plan that lays out these first steps to solve decades of neglect and discrimination, and it places the work of 45 city agencies within a singular framework.
Racial equity plan. This is, I'm sorry, I'll call it for what it is, straight up racism against a race. In this case, white people. I'm sorry. So in Zohran Mamdani's New York, the harder you work and the more you earn, the more your money is going to be taxed because other races aren't earning as much as you are. Can someone explain to me how this is legal in any way, shape, or form? I mean, imagine a world where black people, Asian people, Indians, whatever, it doesn't matter, are taxed more because they're more successful to give to other races, so to speak, who aren't as successful. Maybe it's just about the individual. Maybe the individual is responsible for how much they earn and what they do as far as a career, success, and raising their family. This is insane stuff, which we knew was coming. We've been saying it on this station for many, many months since this guy became the front runner. But because Republicans had to run a guy who was just there for the vanity part of it to draw attention to himself, again, like he did when he ran against Mayor Adams. What is the combined loss now? 40 points to Adams, 45 to Mamdani. What are we, 85 points down? Yeah, let's keep nominating that guy to be the Republican nominee. An absolute cartoon character. And that's why you have Mamdani right now. And Cuomo, obviously, you know, when you're splitting the vote among Democrats, well, that's going to be a problem. But wouldn't you rather have Andrew Cuomo right now? I mean, honestly, the guy ran a state, has had jobs before, unlike Mamdani, and now he's living in this unicorn world where you have to declare war on racial wealth gaps, right? And then claims, I got to see this number. White people have a $277,000 median net worth in New York, while blacks have under 19,000? At last check, 19,000 doesn't get you anywhere in New York, let alone basically anywhere as well. 277 versus 19. Where are these numbers coming from exactly? This is insane. This is unconstitutional. This is race-based treatment. Nothing more. I got to see some polls coming out on this guy. All right, he got 51% of the vote. Why do I get the feeling he's not at 51% approval? It can't be. You look at Abigail Spanberger down in Virginia. Ran as a moderate. She's a moderate who's going to bring affordability back to the Commonwealth. And when you look up the term bait and switch in the dictionary, there is a very, very good chance Abigail Spanberger, Democrat, Virginia governor, her photo will be right next to that definition. This newly elected Democrat, hailed as a moderate by, obviously, herself and an adoring media. And then she cruised to an easy victory over Winsome Sears, Republican, last November. Because Virginia has this ridiculous rule that you can't serve 2 consecutive terms. Why? 4 years is not a lot of time to get a lot done. And Glenn Youngkin was doing a very, very admirable job in Virginia to the point where he was at nearly 60% approval. So what, he can't run again? I'm for term limits to a certain extent, but 4-year term limit? And then I guess I'll run again in a couple of years. But you kind of have to continue your work, right? Anyway, after getting into office, it's hard to tell the difference between Spanberger and, the squad. She's proposing dozens of new taxes. She ran on not redistricting that state, and now she's going to redraw the maps where it's 10-1 Democrats to Republicans in a state that Kamala Harris won by 5 points. So I don't know. Does that sound like a 10-1 Democrat to Republican state to you? No. It's currently 6-5. And oh, by the way, 75% of murders in Fairfax County have been carried out by illegals, all while Spanberger is vowing never, ever work with ICE. Oh, that's great. So more people could get killed? The people you swore to protect? So this is not a moderate. Of course not. And now she is polling, Spanberger is, lower than any governor in the history of polling in Virginia at this stage of her first term, which obviously we're in April. So we're talking less than 3 months in, and already buyer's remorse is coming in a big way here. No question about it. Meanwhile, Mamdani thinks that Al Sharpton is an institution in this city like the Empire State Building and folded pizza. Ha ha. Al Sharpton? Does that guy... Hey, speaking about the rich paying their fair share and paying taxes, at last check, Sharpton kind of doesn't do that. And then we think of all the things that he has said in terms of race baiting. Tawana Brawley, that's a New York institution. Crown Heights, holy moly. Anyway, here is Mamdani kissing the derriere of one Al Sharpton. And if you throw up in your mouth a little bit, I don't blame you. This is cut number 6. Go.
You are as synonymous with our city as the Empire State Building or a folded slice of pizza.
What entity does not exist in that sentence if we live in a sane world? But Al helped get Mamdani elected. And then Mamdani returned the favor by completely and totally pronouncing Mamdani's name wrong. Like, not even close. Good Lord, this is cut number 7. Go.
Zohran Mamdani.
Mamdani? Wait, oh, can we just play that again? Okay.
Zohran Mamdani.
Zohran
Mamdani.
Oh, there's these things called drops. When I listened to Stern way back when, Howard Stern, it was Fred who had the best drops ever. It was just a soundbite that would just pop on out of nowhere. So whenever I say, Kevin, play for me Sharpton Mamdani, he's going to play
Zohran Mamdani.
Oh, that's great, Mamdani. You'd think after all this time that he would know how to pronounce the guy's name. It's not exactly complicated. I'm pretty sure it's phonetic. Mamdani. Like, you look at the name, that's how you... Mamdani. One more time.
Mamdani.
Yeah. I could do this all night. Like the rest of the show, Kevin should just be fill in the blank.
Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah. If I'm Mamdani, I'm like, I said all these nice things about you, and now you can't even pronounce my name right. Instead, you pronounce it like this, Kev.
Zohran Mamdani.
Yeah. Oh, this is probably the best, 90 seconds that this show has had in its very, very early stages. No question about it. Meanwhile, Mamdani, I'll just call him Mamdani for now on, his BFF, Hassan Piker, he's now campaigning with Michigan Senate candidate, and no surprise here in terms of the name, Abdul El Sayed. Yes, not to be confused with Paula Abdul, but here we go, where Piker, which I'll go through it again, said America deserved 9/11, 3,000 people dying, New York, Shanksville, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C. Yep, we deserve that. Also said that he had no problem with, or at least it doesn't matter to him, that women, girls, and men were raped on October 7th, 2023, the worst attack on Jews since the Holocaust. He's okay with that, apparently. Also said that somebody should kill Senator Rick Scott because of Medicare fraud. Not quite sure where he was going with that one. Let's see. Hezbollah has no problem with. They are a great resistance group. He calls those terrorists. Also thinks their flag is really, really cool. I can go on in terms of what this maniac has said. And now you're running for the Senate of the United States. Abdul El Sayed. And you're like, you know what? I really could use some more anti-Semitic votes. Oh, yeah. Mamdani called Jews inbreds. And you're going to campaign with this guy. And if you're Joe Concha of California, you're going to go on his podcast because we got to talk to everybody. There's no line, apparently, anymore. There's no principles. There's no honor. But here's Hassan Piker. Now comparing the U.S. to, Nazi Germany and Trump to you-know-who. This is cut number 8. Go.
It's fascist. It's exterminationist. It's unfortunately where we're at in American politics right now. And unfortunately, it's unrestrained. We need to use every single pressure valve that we can, every single hurdle that we can throw in the direction of this administration. Otherwise, we will be remembered in the dustbin of history in the way that Adolf Hitler was.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, let's campaign with that guy. Oh, by the way, AOC has gone on his podcast. Mamdani has as well. Hassan Piker actually went to the Mamdani victory celebration after he won as mayor. These are the people who have influence over your leaders. Profound anti-Semites. You call any race inbreds? Big problem. Anyway, let me see what we got here. Sinatra. Yearning inside of me.
And its torment won't be through.
See, if I sing over him, it's an insult.
Let me spend life making love.
Love to you. All right, one more time. Night and day. It is Joe Concha at night and during the day on Sundays. Back with more in a moment.
Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Selling your car should feel like one less thing on your list, not one more. With Carvana, it is. Just go to Carvana.com, enter your license plate or VIN, and get a real offer down to the penny. No back and forth, no surprises, just an experience you can trust. Like your offer? Accept it. Schedule pickup, and we'll come to you with a check in hand. Your car, your timeline, your terms. Visit Carvana.com to sell your car today.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Next time you're found with your chin on the ground, there's a lot to be learned. So look around.
Children's chorus here.
Just
Francis
what
Allen.
makes that little old ant
All right.
think he'll move that
We're gonna
rubber
fade here.
plant? Anyone
We definitely need, let's see, Luck Be a Lady when we come out of the next break, or into the next break. If you could cue that up, that'd be great. High Hopes. Which, in Rocky VI, actually, this is what Paulie had Balboa come out to for his final fight. And then Rocky hears it and kind of is a little bit fuddled because his opponent, who's it, Mason the Line Dixon, comes out to like a hard rap song, and then Sinatra comes out to High Hopes. And then Rocky looks at Paulie, kind of like with this puzzled look, and Paulie says, I like Sinatra. And then Stallone thinks about it. Yeah, I kind of like him too. And then the whole crowd is singing along with the song. So it's a great movie, Rocky VI. I mean, 5 was profoundly horrible. And what I read was that Stallone did not want to end the Rocky, his character in it, on that note. That was the Tommy Morrison movie, where they didn't even have like a fight. They fought like in a parking lot or something. I
think it was an awesome street fight, Joe.
It was a pretty awesome. You're right about that. It went back and forth. Stallone wins by knocking Tommy Morrison into a bus or something, and then there's like a Don King character that's yelling about who knows.
Touch me not sue.
Yeah, touch me not sue. That's right. It was bad acting. I think that was Jackie Childs, right? That eventually in Seinfeld, played that character. All right, way off on a tangent. Before we go to break, let's just play Hassan Piker. I talked about this before, but it's worth listening to because it's all on tape and everything. Urging listeners to literally kill a sitting senator in Rick Scott. This is cut number 9. Go.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. Okay? You wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of Florida, Rick Scott, you wouldn't make him the current, what is his current office? What is he?
He's a senator, you moron.
Richard Lynn Scott is an American attorney, businessman, politician, Navy veteran, serving as the senior United States senator from Florida, a seat he has held since 2019. And also, I believe this past election cycle, he was literally the f***ing head of the, what was it, like the Senate committee or something?
How? Wait, I'm being told that 4 million people listen to this maniac who clearly you don't know he's a senator? He's only been a senator for 7 years. And you have to read from Wikipedia to learn more about the guy that you just told your listeners to kill? And this is the guy that Democrats want to be associated with because I guess he young anti-Semitic votes? Oh, my hair hurts. Anyway, all right, let's go out with some Sinatra here, Kev. Take it away. There it is. From a Michelob Light commercial in 88. I don't know why I remember that. A dame you could be. I think you can't call girls dames anymore. Way you treated other guys you've been with. Luck be a lady. Be a lady with me. All right. It is Concha at Night. More Sinatra coming. More fun coming in just a moment. Pink.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
This is
my kind of town.
My kind of town.
Hoboken. Chicago. Sinatra did his diligence in terms of LA is my lady, and Chicago, obviously New York, played after every Yankee victory, so he covers the map, certainly, because that only expands your audience. Francis Albert Sinatra. Anyway, I love this clip, because, I don't know if you heard the news, Michael Avenatti. What did Tucker call him again? He was the something porn lawyer. Creepy porn lawyer. That's right, CPL. This was the guy, obviously, who represented Stormy Daniels in her suit against Donald Trump. And then CNN and MSNBC. And I'm not using hyperbole here in terms of the number of times that Avenatti got on those networks within a 6-month period. Hundreds of times. More than people they actually paid to be on their networks. I remember a New York Times piece where Jake Tapper would literally brag about how, I would text Avenatti and say, hey, can you come on tonight? And Avenatti's like, I'm already in the building. I'm talking to Jeff Zucker, who was the president at CNN at the time. Like, he was considered to be a presidential frontrunner for the Democratic nomination going into, I believe it was 2020. Anyway, we'll get to that clip in a moment. But here is Ana Navarro, who, when you look back on this stuff, this is 6 years ago, compares Avenatti to the Holy Spirit, one of the creepiest criminals, cheesy people on this planet, who fleeced his clients out of millions of dollars, and she compares him to the Holy Spirit because he said mean things about Trump. This is cut number 10. Go.
Lately, to me, you're like the Holy Spirit. You are all places at all times, right?
No.
I mean,
No.
I do. I see you all over cable news. I see you. There is a seat available if you want to be a co-host at The View. You might. There's people here you can pitch.
Yeah, co-host at The View. You're like the Holy Spirit. That is from the Did Not Age Well department, no question. Meanwhile, a guy that I get compared to sometimes, which really annoys me because, he's pretty much, Mr. Potato Head, and at last check, I am not. Of course, we're talking about Brian Stelter of CNN, a guy who got fired and then somehow rehired by the same network. He also, in 2020, thought that Michael Avenatti was a serious contender to be the Democratic nominee because CNN puts him on the air a lot. Therefore, that makes you a contender. Yep, that is warped logic. If you ever wanted to look that one up in the dictionary, this is cut number 11. Go.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know if it's a good thing that star power and TV savvy is required for the job, but I think it is. And by the way, I think President Obama also had a lot of TV star power, and that helped him pre-Trump. But Trump is more evidence of this. And looking ahead to 2020, one reason why I'm taking you seriously as a contender is because of your presence on cable news.
So because you get put on cable news a lot, therefore, you, too, can be president of the United States. Avenatti, not long after that, was indicted and sent to jail for many years for, again, even a paraplegic that he had represented, actually, stole money from. When you steal from a paraplegic, you need more than prison. There is an 8th circle of hell that is waiting for you. If that happens. But again, this was the toast of the town, Michael Avenatti, back in 2019, 2020, because again, he said provocative things about Trump, therefore good enough to run the country. And he became president, by the way, of his cell block in Rikers. So congratulations, Michael Avenatti. Now he is out and back in Hollywood. So despite all this money that he owes all these people, he'll be back driving a Maserati again. And it'll be as if nothing ever happened, because that's how things work here. Meanwhile, Lawrence O'Donnell, on MS, whatever it is called now. Oh, that's right, it's called MS now. This guy, you want to talk about reaching to make an argument? He goes off on Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, because Pete says that after that incredible mission where 2 pilots ejected from their F-15 after it was shot down over Iran, and we had U.S. Special Forces go in and actually get this guy out who was severely injured, hid in a mountain crevice, basically 7,000 feet from where he ejected. And Pete just says the U.S. military should be reassured that we leave no man behind. A benign enough statement, one would think, except Lawrence O'Donnell has a real problem with this because, well, it's sexist or something. This is cut number 12. Go.
That brilliant rescue was described by the Secretary of Defense and by General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as a long-standing American military rule of never leaving anyone behind.
Right.
We leave no man behind.
Yeah.
That is, of course, the old school version of the idea back when only men flew American military planes.
No.
General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, put it this way.
We leave no one behind.
The general knows, unlike Pete Hegseth, that could have been a woman they were trying to rescue, and it might be a woman the next time.
Where to begin with this one? It could have been a woman that they were searching for. I'm pretty sure they knew the gender of the two pilots that ejected. Not could have been. They know who's in the plane. They know who they're searching for. And this freak show. I know it's at least MSNBC, I guess, kind of owns the fact that they are profoundly liberal, and they wear it on their sleeve, unlike CNN, that continues to insist that they're actually the down the middle centrist network. But to go with this argument that because the Secretary of War said we leave no man behind, it could have been a woman they were searching for. I mean, you think woke is dead? It's still alive in certain quarters of national television. That was proven there. Meanwhile, back on the aforementioned CNN, here is Aaron Burnett calling Trump taco. Now, what does taco mean in terms of an acronym? Let's see. Trump always chickens out. TACO. Chickens out. You want to tell that to the Iranians? Seemed like he's chickening out after this war has gone on for weeks, has decimated their navy, their military, missile operations, drone operations. Doesn't seem like he chickened out. He did something that no president in 47 years had the balls to do, which was actually go in, take out the Iranian regime, which he did, the varsity and the JV, and has now neutered them pretty much almost militarily, with very few exceptions. But here's CNN, an anchor on there, Aaron Burnett. I used to go on her show, nice gal, calling Trump taco for not blowing Iran completely up, which we were told was going to be a war crime if he did it. And then when he doesn't, then actually he's a wimp. Guys, pick a lane for the love of God. This is cut number 13. Go.
There will be some who will call it, taco. Right? Trump always chickens out, which is making way too light of it. But it is also a truth, which is that he makes giant threats that he does not follow through on. Yeah. So it's one thing for everyone to say, well, nobody wanted him to do this. And it's another to say that the word of the president of the United States is now something that people do not think that they can take at his word, that they expect it to be just a quick trading opportunity every single time.
It's a negotiation. When Trump says that he's going to blow everything up, that is the only language the Iranians know, just like Kim Jong-un in North Korea, the only language that they know. And you don't know whether he's bluffing or not. Because, again, he set a deadline, and then suddenly the Iranians really, really wanted to talk. Because he has proven time and again that he is not a man of word, but of action. And in this case, the Iranians got the word. As a result, Dow Jones Industrial up more than 1,100 points today, while oil plunged in terms of price. Things are going in the right direction. And that's because Donald Trump finally did something that Republicans and Democrats would not do. And if this so-called ceasefire holds for 2 weeks, maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's the Iranians we're talking about. You can't trust them. Well, you're looking at a monumental shift in the Middle East, just like we saw in Venezuela, like we will see in Cuba. Oh, boy. Well, let's get to this one because this is one of my favorite clips. Sebastian Maniscalco, who I think is a top 5 comedian, easily, of all time. All right, you can say, well, he doesn't have the resume, wasn't around for very long. All right, you want to give me, who are you going to put in the top 5? And George Carlin, good. I get why people would put him in the top 5. Richard Pryor, never really, I thought was anything great, but, he's, look, I don't want to disparage anybody, but Eddie Murphy, pretty good, right? Who am I missing? Chris Rock, the guy who did the Golden Globes, Ricky Gervais. Anybody I'm missing here, Kev, as far
Dave
as like
Chappelle,
great comedians?
Bill Burr, Louis C.K.
Thank you. Very good. Chappelle. Yep. And Louis C.K. Okay, so, but
Rodney
Maniscalco. Oh, you're right about that, Rodney. Okay, yep, Rodney's definitely top 5. Maniscalco, though, Kev, I'll be happy to discuss this with you. I've never seen a stand-up that he has done, like a clip, where I didn't laugh. Like, he's just that good. Or am I missing something?
As a society, that's all we do is go out to dinner with your friends. That always gets weird. Especially if you go out with a group and you go out to anything like a dinner or whatnot. And when the bill comes, it gets weird. Because what normally happens is the bill will travel around the table. People will then begin to pitch in what they think they owe. The problem with this is there's always somebody last to get the bill. A look of confusion and concern comes over their face. They're like, what? Now people see this and they're like, oh, a couple extra dollars or something like that? And they're like, well, I'm $687 short. So the $2 you're gonna pitch in ain't even gonna put a dent in this. So how about this? How about the bill take another lap? Do another lap. I don't think my chicken tenders were $700.
See, I think that, and I should include also, Kev, Seinfeld, obviously, as a top comedian. But it's the same concept in terms of bringing up things that people can relate to, especially here in terms of getting the bill when you're at a dinner at a restaurant. This happens to all of us. And when you can relate to the humor and it's delivered in the way that Maniscalco does, in a very demonstrative way, then, well, yeah, that's what works. And that's why this guy is a multi-millionaire at this point. All right, well, this is Concha at Night. We have so many more clips to play for you. Back with so much more in just a moment.
One town that won't let you down. It's my kind of town.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
So, it happened in Monterey. I'm just going to let this play out. It's that good. From The Devil's Advocate, by the way, with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves.
It happened in
Monterey. A long
time ago.
All right, we'll fade.
I met her in Monterey.
What a voice. Incredible. Hoboken, New Jersey's Francis Albert Sinatra. All right, so when we go to Monterey to Iran here at this point, jumping across the pond, here is Secretary of War Pete Hegseth talking about how there are some in the press that are saying that this operation, war, whatever you want to call it, against Iran wasn't really a success. Well, here is Pete laying it all out, and this was victory with a capital V. Cut number 4. Go.
President Trump forged this moment. Iran begged for this ceasefire, and we all know it. As the President truth this morning, a big day for world peace. Iran wants it to happen. They've had enough. Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory on the battlefield. A capital V military victory.
Boom.
By any measure, Epic Fury decimated Iran's military and rendered it combat ineffective for years to come. You see, in less than 40 days, one of our combatant commands, Central Command, CENTCOM, using less than 10% of America's total combat power, dismantled one of the world's largest militaries. The world's leading state sponsor of terrorism proved utterly incapable of defending itself, its people, or its territory.
Anyone want to argue with that? Because Hegseth is exactly right about that. Now, the question is, does the Strait of Hormuz remain open? Right now, we saw shipping going through fairly easily with a couple of hiccups. But overall, if that opens up, and there is talk of the U.S. and Iran actually partnering, even after war, in terms of charging a tariff, what do we want to call it, toll, probably a better word, to go through there. Okay. You generate some revenue. That would be pretty smart. And Iran has a financial stake in terms of keeping it open instead of bombing ships. Yeah, that would make sense. So we will see. Meanwhile, this was funny also at the same press conference. Here's General Raisin Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, getting a question where he didn't quite understand the premise of the question. And then Pete Hegseth jumps in and tells the general actually what was happening here from a dishonest reporter in that briefing room. Cut number 5, go.
I'd love to take that offline and answer it, but I'm struggling to find exactly what your question was, and that's probably me, not you. Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman, it was an indictment framed as a question, so you're forgiven for not understanding.
It was an indictment framed as a question. Yep, that was ABC News. No surprise there. Stephen Colbert is portrayed by legacy media as like the smart guy in comedy. And he's never, ever, ever going to be mentioned in that aforementioned conversation that we had about the best comedians of all time, which Kevin reminds me that we probably should, despite, personal picadillos. We'll put it that way. Bill Cosby absolutely should be included in that conversation as far as the best comedians of all time. Anyway, Colbert, this is funny because under Biden, he said that it was worth paying more for gas because, well, we have to support the Ukrainians. And oh, by the way, Colbert being worth, tens of millions of dollars, can afford to buy a new Tesla, which is somewhere north of about $60,000. Therefore, gas doesn't matter because you're driving an electric car. But then we hear his whole spiel on how, boy, this war with Iran is really, really hurting people as far as gas prices, and we should be very, very concerned. You want to see hypocrisy in italics, underscored, and in all caps. This is Stephen Colbert, and this show can't go off the air soon enough next month in May on CBS. Cut number 15, go.
Somehow, President Businessman didn't see all this coming. Reportedly, this weekend's oil price spike caught White House staffers off guard. According to one, it was insane. It absolutely surprised the administration. Really? You were surprised that bombing the place the oil comes from makes the oil cost more? Huh? We're not going to buy our gas from a war criminal. We're going to buy it from the good guys, Saudi Arabia.
So that's 2022.
But it's going to cost. Since the invasion, oil prices have skyrocketed. Today, the average gas price in America hit an all-time record high of over $4 per gallon. Okay, yeah, that stings, but a clean conscience is worth $1 or $2. I'm willing to pay $4 a gallon. Hell, I'll pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
Oh, okay, so the car that most people can't afford, you're willing to pay $15 per gallon of gas because Biden loved that war, and therefore you think it's worth it until it isn't. I mean, that just tells you everything about this phony who, again, is a very distant second to Greg Gutfeld at this point, losing $40 million a year to do that show. It cost about $1 million to produce every Colbert late-night episode. It's basically him doing stand-up and then two people talking at a desk. How does that cost $1 million? We will never quite know. Anyway, let's play this real quick, shall we? This is Family Feud, and I watch this with the kids and the wife sometimes. And there are some answers that just make you absolutely shake your head.
Top 5 answers on the board, guys. Here we go. What's the worst thing about a public steam room?
Ugly people.
Oh. Well. It was the number one answer. That's just great. It's true. How many attractive people have you seen in a public steam room? 0? Maybe 1 in your lifetime? Paradise. Anyway, Francis Albert takes us out on this Wednesday evening. We're back tomorrow night. at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
Longs for the sweetheart
On WABC in New York and on stations around the country.
in old
And even in Monterey, probably. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
happened.